Some electronic equipment cabinets require fiber optic connections. Some connections are terminated with single terminus or ST connectors, and others require a multi-pin fiber connection. This video will discuss the multi-pin fiber connector and back shell. Safety precautions should always be observed when dealing with fiber optics. Safety glasses should be worn at all times while performing the installation procedures. Avoid skin contact with adhesives. When the heater is in operation, place it away from combustibles. When cleaning fiber optic products, always use fiber optic cleaning solution or isopropyl alcohol. Here's a quick list of tools that will be used in this procedure and are contained in most fiber optic kits. Black permanent marker, jacket strip tool, Kevlar shears, OFCC stripper, cleaving tool, timer, polishing film 5 micron, polishing film 1 micron, polishing film 1/10 micron, polishing plate, polishing tool, insertion tool, extraction tool, 400 times microscope, and heat gun. Mark the cable jacket approximately 140 millimeters or 5.5 inches from the end and strip back the outer cable jacket to mark using the cable stripper. Slide the heat shrink and end cap onto the cable. Cut off any exposed central member, fillers, or water blocking materials with the Kevlar shears. Tape Kevlar to a couple of OFCC jackets and insert halfway into the conical guide. Hold in place, then insert the remaining OFCCs. Hold the Kevlar in one hand and slide the conical guide toward the cable jacket with the other hand. Hold the Kevlar and conical guide in opposite directions to ensure the cable is set firmly in the conical guide. Fold back the Kevlar over the conical guide and slide the conical spring over the termini, OFCCs, and position it over the Kevlar and conical guide. Hand tighten the spring down. Next, measure the OFCC to length and feed each OFCC into a crimp sleeve and slide the sleeve back from the end of the OFCC. Next, remove the OFCC jackets back to dimension using the OFCC stripper and trim the OFCC Kevlar so that approximately 3 millimeters extends past the OFCC jacket. Make sure to wear safety glasses when removing the fiber buffer and coating to avoid possible eye injury. We will now remove the fiber buffers and coatings using the buffer stripper. Remove the buffer and coating in small sections at a time. Note that normally the buffer and coating are tightly adhered to one another and come off the fiber at the same time. Caution: the uncoated fiber is in its most vulnerable state. Take extreme care not to damage the fiber. Breakage of any one fiber from this point until the connector is completely assembled will require repeating these steps in order to maintain the approximately equal length of all the fibers in the cable. Remove any residual coating material from the bare fibers with the wipe dampened with alcohol. Wipe only once from the end of the buffer towards the end of the fiber. Do not repeatedly wipe the bare fiber, as this will weaken the fiber. Remove the divider from a 2-part epoxy package and mix the 2 parts together until the epoxy is in a smooth, uniform color. Remove the plunger and squeeze the epoxy into the syringe. Slide the terminus rear first onto the syringe tip. Keeping the syringe vertical, depress the plunger slowly and inject the epoxy into the terminus until it escapes out of the ferrule, forming a very small bead. Another note here, do not overfill and be extremely careful not to get the epoxy on the pin spring or other terminus moving parts. Feather the Kevlar evenly around the fiber and insert the fiber into the rear of the terminus. Gently work the fiber through the terminus until the buffer seats against the rear of the ferrule. The OFCC jacket should come up to the rear of the terminus and the Kevlar should surround the rear of the terminus. Do not allow the Kevlar to enter the rear of the terminus. Once inserted, do not allow the fiber to slip back. Slide the crimp sleeve over the Kevlar and crimp it to the rear of the terminus using the crimp tool. If excessive Kevlar protrudes from under the crimp sleeve, trim it back using a razor blade. Insert the terminus into the cure adapter until it snaps into place if this was not done previously. Repeat these steps for each OFCC. Now it's time to place the cure adapters in the curing oven and position the cable vertically over the oven using the cable stand ring, and cable clip. Cure the epoxy for a minimum of 10 minutes and a maximum of 30 minutes. When the cable is positioned above the terminus, make sure that no bends are placed in the OFCCs. Turn the curing oven off and remove the cure adapters and termini from the curing oven, and allow the cure adapters and termini to cool for approximately 4 minutes. Remove the terminus from the cure adapter and score the fiber close to the terminus tip at the epoxy interface using one short light stroke with the cleaving tool. Pull off each fiber with a gentle, straight pull. Deposit the waste fiber in the trash container. Note, the termini not being polished should be left in the cure adapters during the polishing process to protect the fibers from breakage. Before inserting the terminus into the polishing tool, the terminus may be held vertically and the end of the fiber polished off by lightly running the 5-micron polishing paper over the top of the terminus tip. Replace the 5-micron paper with 1-micron paper and polish with a very light pressure using a figure 8 motion for 10 to 20 motions. Replace the 1-micron paper with the 1/10 micron paper. Rotate the top of the polishing tool counterclockwise 90 degrees and separate the top from the base. Insert the terminus removal tool into the bottom of the terminus cavity of the polishing tool top and press on the hilt of the removal tool until the tool clicks into place. Next, examine the terminus with the optical microscope to ensure the optical surface is smooth and free of scratches, pits, chips, or fractures. If any defects are present, repeat the steps for the remaining terminated OFCCs or re-terminate the fiber. Note, over-polishing the fiber will increase the optical loss of the terminus. Do not polish the terminus more than necessary to pass the quality check. Using the crescent wrench, turn the spring clockwise until it is flush with the top of the conical guide. Pull the Kevlar up toward the termini and feed the Kevlar through the shrink sleeve fray control. Heat shrink the sleeve down with a heat gun. Trim the Kevlar as close to the top of the conical guide as possible. Feed the termini through the back shell from the rear. Slide the Kevlar retainer, conical guide, into the back shell barrel as far as possible. Position the terminus into the proper cavity in the rear of the connector insert. Apply pressure to the insertion tool until the terminus snaps into place. Remove the tool by pulling it straight back. Screw the back shell attachment nut tightly onto the plug. Slide the heat shrink, which has already been placed onto the cable earlier, over the conical guide and shrink it down with the heat gun. Then slide the O-ring over the heat shrink. Push the conical guide up against the rear of the back shell and rotate until the tabs seat properly onto the armrest sections. Slide the rear cap onto the back of the back shell and tighten. Finally, place the dust cap over the front of the plug.